Hey, Jason here from Simply Swider. So if your Whirlpool washer is throwing that dreaded F20 error code and won't fill with water, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix it. Good news is most of these fixes are pretty straightforward and won't cost you a fortune. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. All right, so what's this F20 code all about? Basically, your washer's telling you it's got a water inlet problem. Either no water's coming in or not enough water's getting through. I've seen this 100 times, and it's usually one of five things: kinked inlet hoses, clogged screens, too much detergent, a bad pressure switch, or your drain hose isn't installed right. Let me walk you through each one so you can get your washer back up and running. So the most common culprit, and where I always start, is those water inlet hoses behind your washer. These are the hot and cold water lines that bring water into your machine, and they're probably 80% of the F20 problems I see. Here's what happens. If these hoses get kinked, clogged, or damaged, your washer can't get the water it needs, triggering that F20 code. Before we start, make sure to unplug your washer and turn off those water shut-off valves. Safety first. Now pull your washer out from the wall and take a look at where these hoses connect behind your machine. Check for any obvious kinks or bends. Sometimes when you push the washer back, the hoses get crimped. If that's the case, just reposition the washer or maybe shorten the hose if it's too long. Now, if they're not kinked but still no water's flowing, they might be clogged. You can clear these out with a wire or even use a pressure washer to blast through any buildup. Oh, and here's something that'll make you feel silly if you miss it. Make sure those water faucets on the wall are actually turned on. Don't ask me how I know that one. These hoses will run you about 15 to 60 bucks if you need to replace them, which beats the heck out of a service call. Moving on to another really common issue, those little screens inside your inlet valves. These screens are there to catch debris before it gets into your washer, but guess what? Sometimes they do their job a little too well and get completely clogged up. You can see me pointing to where these are located right here. They're behind those inlet hoses we just looked at. I remember this lady who had a Duet steam washer that would start a cycle and then just stop cold with the F20 code. Another member in our group nailed it right away. Told her to check those inlet screens for buildup. Here's how you fix it. This should take about 10 minutes. You'll need needle nose pliers and maybe a towel for any water spillage. First, turn off these water faucets behind your washer, then disconnect the inlet hoses from the valves. You'll see these little mesh screens sitting right there in the valve openings. Use your needle nose pliers to gently pull them straight out. And I mean gently because these screens can tear easily. Last thing you want is to damage one of these little guys. Once you've got them out, just rinse them clean under running water to wash away all that accumulated junk. Pop them back in, reconnect your hoses, and you should be good to go. These screens only cost about 6 to 18 bucks if you need replacements, so it's a pretty cheap fix. Here's one that catches a lot of people off guard. You might be using too much detergent. Yeah, I know it sounds weird that detergent could cause a water inlet error, but stick with me here. When you use too much soap, especially the wrong kind, you get what we call over-sudsing. All those bubbles can actually confuse your washer's sensors and trigger that F20 code. Whirlpool's pretty specific about this. If you've got an HE washer, you need HE detergent. Regular detergent creates way too many suds and will cause all sorts of problems, but even with the right detergent, if you're dumping in too much, you're going to run into trouble. I've seen people use a whole cup of detergent for one load thinking more is better. Trust me, it's not. Check your detergent bottle for the exact measurement. For he washers, it's typically just 1 to 2 tablespoons, not a full cup. I'm showing the correct amount on screen right now. If you've already got a sudsy mess in there, here's a quick trick. Pour just 1 capful of liquid fabric softener into the drum to break down those bubbles. You can also run an extra rinse cycle to clear everything out. Way cheaper than calling someone like me to tell you you're using too much soap. Now we're moving into intermediate level repairs with the pressure switch. If you're not comfortable working with electrical components, this might be a good time to call a pro. This switch is basically your washer's water level sensor. It tells the control board when there's enough water to start washing. You can see on the screen right now where this switch is located, typically inside the control panel with a small tube attached to it. Here's how it works. When water fills the drum, air gets pushed through this tube to activate the pressure switch. If the switch is bad or that tube is blocked, your washer thinks there's no water even when there is, and boom, F20 error. I had this customer Josh reach out about his Duet Sport throwing the F20 code every single load. We tested the pressure switch with a multimeter, found it had no continuity, so he replaced it. Should have been the end of the story, right? Wrong. F20 code kept coming back. That's when we discovered the real culprit was that little tube connected to the switch. Thing was completely clogged with lint and debris. Pull that tube off the switch and blow through it. You'd be amazed what comes out sometimes. If the tube's clear but the switch itself is shot, you're looking at about $16 to $95 for a replacement. Not too bad considering it could save you a couple hundred in service calls. Here's one that really trips people up. Believe it or not, your drain hose installation can cause an F20 error. I know it sounds backwards since we're talking about water coming in, not going out, but hear me out. The drain hose connects to your drain pump and goes up into that standpipe in your wall. If this hose is installed too low, you get what's called a siphoning effect. Basically, water tries to drain out as fast as it comes in, so your washer never fills up properly. I remember this poor guy who installed a new drain hose on his Duet washer, and suddenly it wouldn't fill at all. Just gave him the F20 code after 8 minutes of trying. Turns out he had the drain hose way too low, creating exactly this siphoning problem. Whirlpool's pretty specific about this. Your drain pipe needs to be higher than 39 inches, but not more than 96 inches from the floor. If you're outside that range, you're going to have problems. The fix is pretty straightforward. Just reinstall the drain hose at the proper height following Whirlpool's guidelines. A replacement drain hose will only set you back 10 to 40 bucks if yours is damaged, which is way better than dealing with this headache over and over. All right, so let's talk about which models see this F20 error most often. You can see the most affected models displayed on the screen right now, and there's definitely a pattern here. The Whirlpool Duet series seems to be the biggest culprit. I'm talking about your Duet HT models, Duet steam units, and the Duet Sport washers. These front-loading machines are more sensitive to water inlet issues than your typical top loaders. What's interesting is the variety of problems that trigger the F20 on these units. Some of these Duet models have issues with pressure switch failures, others get drain hose problems, and quite a few have those inlet screen clogs I mentioned earlier. The good news is all these fixes we just covered will work on any of these models. The parts are pretty much the same across the whole Duet line. So whether you've got the HT, Steam, or Sport version, you're looking at the same troubleshooting steps and roughly the same repair costs. That's how you tackle the Whirlpool F20 error code. Here's your quick troubleshooting checklist. First, check for kinked inlet hoses. That's your most likely culprit. Second, clean those inlet valve screens. Third, reduce your detergent amount if you're using too much. Fourth, check your drain hose. Height is between 39 and 96 inches. And finally, if none of those work, you might need a new pressure switch. Always start with the free fixes before buying any parts. Most of the time, one of these fixes will get you back to doing laundry without that annoying error code. Remember, consistent maintenance goes a long way. Keep those screens clean, use the right amount of HE detergent, and make sure nothing's kinked or clogged behind your washer. Way cheaper than having me come out for a service call. If you guys know someone who's having appliance troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your Whirlpool washer working again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.